So when you look around the valley, and we knew we were going to have these protests and demonstrations, anti-deportation protests in Phoenix. Not all of them, but most of them. Anything but peaceful. We've had 5 patrol cars damaged in one protest. We had somebody take a patrol car.
Literally.
We had several officers, the victim of aggravated assault.
Wasn't a drone destroyed or something?
A DPS drone was destroyed, I believe, too.
I don't know how do you knock down a drone?
Fireworks were thrown at officers' heads. Okay. One officer, one of those fireworks blew up near her leg. She had welts on her leg, the cop. So, law enforcement, they've been busy the last week. But are they handling the situation the right way? Joining us right now, former Arizona police chief, expert on crowd control tactics. Stanley Gephardt joins us. How are you today? Thanks for joining us.
I'm fine. How are you, gentlemen?
Doing well,
great.
Sir.
Doing great. All right, so law enforcement, are they doing it right? You're an expert on this kind of stuff. Should they get like a little bit more, how should we say it? We need to take care of business and be a little bit more tough.
I'm going to make a lot of my brothers and sisters in law enforcement very unhappy by what I have to say. My orientation to crowd control and crowd management goes back to People's Park when I was a member of the San Jose tax team, a 168-member team that dealt with the student protests at People's Park. They were throwing reinforcing rod and concrete at us, and an individual was shot and killed who was throwing those projectiles down on police officers. So from that time to this, I've been involved in large crowd control circumstances. I'm currently retained and working in the January 6th case. I'm retained in the Astroworld Travis Scott case and a number of other high-profile crowd control, crowd management cases over the years. We have dumbed down, we have stood down with orders directly coming from the law enforcement community, chiefs of police, and commanders of field services to stand down. They took the same oath that I took in 1962, a long time ago. That oath requires that they make arrests when crimes are committed. Stealing a police car is a felony.
Yeah, agreed.
Assaulting and injuring a police officer by whatever method is a felony. To stand down and to not take an aggressive approach to apprehending or dispersing these people is just flat wrong. It's not what the taxpayers expect. It's not what the taxpayers are paying you to do, and you're not meeting your responsibility to your office.
All right. We're talking to Stanley Gephardt, former Arizona police chief, an expert on crowd control tactics. So how do you balance civil rights? How do you balance the First Amendment against lawlessness, I guess? Because I think we can argue and agree that peaceful protest is one thing, stealing police cars and assaulting police officers are another. But they usually don't start out that way. Is that fair?
That's fair. You're talking to an individual who took rocks and bottles while protecting people who were protesting and exercising their First Amendment rights with a position I disagreed with. And I was protecting these people. That was a planned protest where people identified themselves, their organization, their route of march to the city that I was working in, San Jose, California, and got approval and a protest permit. This circumstance that we're talking about evolved from a group of people who had no such contact with any city officials and spontaneously formed and then engaged in unlawful behavior, and were confronted by the police, and there was nothing, again, substantive that was done to foreclose on arresting these people. So there are two stark differences. You will never find me in opposition to a group who has applied for and wants police protection for exercising their First Amendment rights. I will protect that with every fiber of my being. But I'm going to be steadfastly opposed to a group of people who spontaneously assemble and violate the law. And I will act on my oath and arrest those people or stop them, dispersing them.
Can I get some clarity from you? Because I don't fully understand this. As I understand it, you don't need a permit to protest lawfully. Public sidewalk, a park, etc. You do need a permit when you're blocking traffic, closing down streets, having a large rally. And I guess maybe the confusion is when does it go from a small protest to a big protest and you suddenly need a permit?
We're on a slippery slope here.
Okay.
And people are playing with the law. That's what they're doing. You have no constitutional right to prevent the free flow of traffic by placing yourself, your body, in opposition to the flow of traffic, or by taking over an intersection and doing donuts or driving erratically, driving carelessly and recklessly in the middle of that street.
Agreed.
That is not a protected free speech
Fair.
right.
Yes.
You have no right to do that. You are, in fact, violating the law.
Mm-hmm.
Stanley,
now,
go ahead.
Think of it real quick this way.
All right.
Supreme Court Justice articulated you have no right to cry fire in a crowded theater. That's what these people are doing and trying to tell you that they don't need a permit to do it.
Stanley Kephart is joining us, former Arizona police chief, expert on crowd control tactics, who's seen quite a mess in Phoenix and Glendale. So what's your one suggestion to the police officers in Phoenix and Glendale? Because it's like 6 straight days of protests, and a lot of it's gotten out of control.
Well, it feels like they're ramping up a little, doesn't it?
I don't know, man. They started right out of the gate.
Disorderly, you know.
Is it getting
conduct.
worse? I don't know, Bruce. But like, what's your one suggestion for the police officers to make this better?
It's one suggestion, but it needs to begin with letting the police do what they are taught and trained to do, and getting the politics out of it. Okay. Getting the city manager on behalf of the council telling these people not to exercise use of force and not to arrest people. That needs to be removed immediately. And then allow the police using trained personnel. These are not trained personnel. I will bet a steak dinner, your restaurant of choice, that these are line personnel because they don't have sufficient numbers of people to train and come in and disperse a crowd like this and make arrests. That capability existed back in the student protest area with specific teams that had the requisite training and the equipment to disperse and arrest law violators. We don't have that anymore. We've got line personnel that are taken off of their beat and brought down to a location and told to stand down, and even when they're attacked, don't meet their responsibility to their oath.
Appreciate your insight into this, and we'll see if people pay attention to your words of wisdom. That's Stanley Kephart, former Arizona police chief and an expert on crowd control tactics. Thank you for your time today, sir.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right.
Do you think, Bruce, that the police here, they all knew this was going to come?
The protests, you mean?
Yeah, yeah. That they're being a bit lenient so they don't come off as being, I guess, too harsh.
Well, I think you heard it. I think there's a balance in there. Yeah. You have a right to protest in this country. The First Amendment guarantees you can stand on the street corner, scream anything you damn well please to people, right?
Yeah. But this isn't it.
But then where does it cross the line? And kind of the point I was trying to make was I've seen, and you have, I've seen pictures of moms with a stroller walking down the sidewalk protesting. Mm-hmm. And then I've seen cars with people hanging out the windows doing donuts in the middle of an intersection. Those are two different protests. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I'll defend mom on the sidewalk.
I know.
Absolutely.
That's why I said it at the beginning. Not all of the protests have fallen into throwing stuff at cops.
Agreed.
Most of them have. That's the thing. Most of them
But
have.
it seemed
there
like
are a few that have
go
been
downhill.
just fine.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of them that have been, yes, the donuts. They're throwing stuff at the cops.
Stealing
they're
a cop
stealing
car.
a car.
Yeah.
They're breaking windows. And so this has not been peaceful at all.
And I think that also falls back on like organizers of these events, that they need to understand how this makes them all look. Right. When they're doing donuts in the middle of the street and stealing cop cars, nobody
terrible.
cares about what you're protesting at that point. Nobody cares anymore.
Thanks for watching Outspoken with Bruce and Gatos. Tap to watch more from KTAR News and click the button in the middle to subscribe.